Hi, Michael. Okay, good afternoon. The time is now 4:01, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Rules Committee into order. A copy of the agenda for this meeting may be found on the county website under the tab for the Legislature. Please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. And at this time, I ask you please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doreen, to be kind enough to call the roll?
Absolutely. Amo, Anagnostakis, Gagione.
Here.
Feller.
Here.
Cadus.
Here.
Ramos.
Here.
Segenga.
Here.
Sutherland.
Here.
Six present, two absent.
Okay, thank you. I'd also like the record to reflect that we have legislators Benelli, Sassy, Skevich, and Cheney here with us today, along with the county executive who will be speaking. Okay, so let's. Top level, we also have our chairman, Kevin Hines, and majority leader.
At least she recognized the ones that were.
It's a given that you're there. Okay, so first on the agenda, we have Kerry Gallagher, and we have Andrea Duncannon. If you please come on up, Commissioner of Finance and Deputy Commissioner of Finance.
I just wanted to pop on, Ms. Chairwoman and members of the Legislature, real quick before we start. I know we're talking about the sales tax renewal. And I've talked to a couple of legislators that asked me about what we should do with the rate. I think we should keep it as is, and I'll tell you why. Because I know, look, we all want to lower taxes, and the property taxes are lowest, but that we've seen since the 60s. But here's the deal: if we want to lower it from the rate we're at now, we're going to leave $38 million on the table. And I'm telling you, I'm from the town of Chester. I got crucified with property taxes this year, 20% tax hike. I know other towns have seen major hikes around the town and the county. They depend on it almost more than we do sometimes because they're having so much financial stress. The other thing is, one of the greatest resources all of us have here is the New York State Association of Counties. I called up the executive director literally a half hour ago, Steve Aquario, and not one county out of the 62 counties is looking at lowering the sales tax rate right now. So he said, and he said the economy, he told me, I said, I'm going to meet with my legislators now and we're going to talk about it. He said the economy's cyclical. We all know that. So I think we continue to do what we're doing now, continue to buy stuff with cash, and continue to improve our infrastructure and enjoy that sales tax while it's still there. Who knows what the future has? So that's the only input I wanted to put on this, because I've had a couple of legislators like, look, economy's good. County's in great shape. Why don't we lower that down now? So that's the only reason why I wanted to pop up here with Kerry. I didn't want to take your seat, but I'm not leaving here. I'm going to stay for the discussion, but also with some of the other things on your agenda.
Okay, thank you. So let's do this. If I could please have, so the request is to have the 0.75% increase to the sales tax rate extended for the period beginning December 1st, 2025 and ending November 30th, 2027. Legislative request 030. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, legislators Segenga and Feller. Okay, we heard the county executive's thoughts. Kerry?
Yeah, so I just want to let the record show that this occurs every 2 years, so that's why we're here. This is step one of a 3-step process. That's why we're here so far in advance. So this is, like I said, this is just step one. We need your request to do this, and then we'll move on to step 3. And as the county exec stated, this county depends heavily on sales tax. We did some calculations. If we would remove that from this 0.75%, Andrea can say those numbers, how it'll impact both the county and the municipalities.
Yeah, the county would be looking at about a $27 million gap for 25, and municipalities 10.7 million. So as Steve mentioned, it was 38 million total. You can see the loss. We were to move that.
What's that based on?
It's based on our 2025 budget. So if we were to meet those budget numbers for 2025, but now we are lowering our sales tax, there's a gap of $38 million from budget to actuals.
Legislator Stinga?
Do we have, any way that you break up what, like, just, you have to be guessing, but how much is actually spent on, from people outside of Orange County? I know that's very difficult because,
So
like,
they-
but if you looked at the commons and just made the assumption that 90% of the people that are spending there are actually from someplace else.
So when I get a data dump from, let's use Nike at the Commons. I'm not told that Carrie Gallagher that lives in Orange County spends $100 and someone outside the county spends $1,000. I get a net figure of that dollar amount that's deposited into our account. So I don't have that figure.
And what I said to County Legislator Ellers yesterday, who asked me the same question, I said, we know one thing. Mike Paducah is paying 100% on his property tax. Steve Newhouse is paying 100% on his property tax. So sales tax, whether it's 75% out of the county, and we've heard these numbers come from the state because they collect it, like Carrie's saying, we know one thing is for sure, it's shared amongst everybody. Whereas the property tax is hammering just the property tax owners. The people, the families that live in Orange County, and the businesses that are home in Orange County. So that's why we're always, I think, historically, the whole group of us, the legislature and myself, both trying to give relief on property taxes as best as possible and keep the sales tax strong.
Well, I'm in agreement with
Mhm.
extending it. I was just looking at that, you know, like, I mean, for your typical normal areas where you know it's more, communities that are putting money into and maybe tax this versus Legoland or some of the places that we know
Or
are
hotel
more,
tax,
the
yep.
hotel tax, the
Mhm.
things that are there. And I mean, being a chamber president for my local establishment, I mean, we push for the using it over and over in our communities because we get the best bang and it's coming back into our communities to help offset those taxes for our villages and towns.
Mhm.
So I agree that we should leave it the way it is.
And it's shared equally.
Extend it.
So the three cities get a bigger chunk than the other municipalities, but look at the town of Woodbury, for instance, in the village of Woodbury. They're home to Woodbury Commons, one of our big generator sales tax. A lot of that sales tax benefits Charlie Carnes and Pine Bush and Deer Park, Chester, all those places in between. That's why some of the towns are like, wait, we wish we got more, and it didn't have to be shared, but the system that the way it is it's distributed equally. It benefits the city of Newbury, it benefits Middletown, benefits Walk Hill and the rest of their.
Great, Legislator Thornton?
Yeah, the town of Montgomery is very grateful for the sales tax income every year. This year, the town of Montgomery went up, in many cases, 30–40%. And the only positive feedback I got from the county of Montgomery, town of Montgomery people was, well, thank God for the Orange County legislator. That at least offset a little bit, 1.5%. So I am 100% in favor of it. And also, on the same trend, when I go to another county, when we travel around, we pay sales tax to the other county. So they're hitting us. They're not dropping it either. We get it in from other people, which is great, but we're paying it other places
And
also.
some counties don't even share.
And I can attest to the fact that literally the number one call I get is from the town supervisors. When is this check coming?
Without a doubt.
100%. I can tell you the next week I'll probably have a handful of calls looking for when that check is.
Or if we're gonna get more.
processed. Oh, yeah.
Because we've had
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Sure, bonus.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? Yes, Legislator.
So just to put the number on it for the public who's listening, the tax rate is gonna stay at 8 1/8, 0.08125.
8.125%.
Correct, okay. Just wanna make sure everybody heard that.
Anybody else? No, okay, I'd like to call into question, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we have Alan Sorensen, Commissioner of Planning, and Stacy Butler, Deputy Commissioner of Planning. We have quite the request here. We have 2A. We have a request to accept and appropriate funding received through the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities, CEC program, and to authorize the county executive to execute any contracts and documents required. The NYSERDA CEC program grant funds are awarded on a rolling basis. There are pre-approved project types and items that may be purchased with the awarded funds, and it will typically be departments other than planning, such as DPW, Parks, General Services, Valley View, et cetera, that will procure the items or perform the projects. There are some recently approved projects for the total amount of $543,613. The county will use this funding toward the purchase of non-road electric construction vehicles non-road electric ATVs, and electric landscaping equipment to be utilized by the Orange County Department of Parks and Recreation, the Veterans Service Agency, and the Department of Public Works. Investing in these equipment items allows Orange County to add its clean fleet while allowing departments to meet operation goals with efficient electric-powered vehicles. These funds are to be added to existing award project legislative request number 313. I have a motion in a second, please. Second. Legislator Feller and Legislator Ramos.
Can I,
Oh, I'm sorry, Legislator Patu.
sorry,
yes.
can I interject just on the last motion that you had with respect to?
Yes,
sales
of course.
tax? I just want to make it clear, especially for the public, that when you say it's 8.25, that's not the county's sales tax. It's 8.25. That's the total, including the state. The county's portion is only.
So it's 3.75%, the state is 4%, and the MTA is 0.375%.
Okay,
I just want
thank
to
you for the
clarify that.
clarification. I appreciate you.
That's why I have legal.
Okay, okay. Alan,
Madam Chair, thank you.
Yes.
So I think, as many of you know, the Department of Planning has been participating for the county with the Clean Energies Communities Program. And there are a number of initiatives that we've been undertaking, such as last year's adoption of the Orange County Climate Resilience Plan. We've just recently completed a greenhouse gas emissions and climate action plan. That will be coming before the legislature in the coming months for adoption as part of the comprehensive plan update. But as we do initiatives like that, we were able, through the Clean Energies Communities Program, to score points. And as you score points, it makes funding available to implement clean energy initiatives throughout the county. So just to give you just a quick overview of the type of equipment that parks and DPW are purchasing with this funding, there's several Bobcat compact excavators. These are EV excavators. There are landscaping equipment that's being purchased, an electric loader unit. So it's a variety of different two man lifts over at Carmel Hill that we purchased. They're electric, so we're replacing gas combustion vehicles with EVs. So this is the first phase. I want to compliment Jessica Ridgway, Stacy Butler in my office, and Kate Schmidt for their participation in making all this work. Jessica really over the last couple of months has been able to pull all this together, working with the Hudson Valley Regional Council. So I also just want to acknowledge their efforts as well. But yeah, with this authorization, we will proceed with the purchase of the equipment that's cited here. In addition to that, we have secured approximately $275,000 in additional funding through the Clean Energies Communities Program, and we're coordinating with our sister agencies in the county to purchase electric vehicles for the motor vehicle fleet, and also to add some additional EV charging stations.
you had said that there was, earlier on the phone, there was a Ford F-150.
Ford F-150
Everybody's excited
Lightning,
about.
that's on the state bid, so looking to purchase a few of those for parks and for DPW. And I think they're gonna have a very practical use, because the range on those vehicles is anywhere from like 100 to 150 miles, but if you use it in the context of a park, that's a really good fit, I think. So, yeah, I think that's all I have.
Okay. Legislator Patu.
Are you just adding to the fleet, or are you removing the gas ones?
It'll be a replacement, so as we'll fold these in. So in some cases, as we're retiring a vehicle from the motor pool, we'll replace it with an EV.
So it's not gonna happen all at once?
No, we have enough funding. I mean, 275,000 sounds like a lot of money, but the EVs, they're a little more expensive. So we're probably talking like 5 or 6 vehicles.
If you're gonna replace the other stuff that you want, what are you gonna do with them? You're not gonna use them, or you
If they're
sell them, or?
if they're coming off the lease, then they'll just come off the lease and we'll replace it with these vehicles that the county will,
Actually, everything's not leased every year. right? I mean, are you replacing these vehicles or replacing vehicles that we own that
It,
are still in good shape? Are you gonna sell them? Are you gonna?
I don't know yet what specific vehicles we're replacing, but if it is a vehicle that the county owns, there's a procurement process for that. It has to be auctioned off. And so that's what would happen with
But
it.
you don't know that list yet. You don't have. an idea.
I don't. I have a list of the department request, which is based in part on the vehicles that they're planning to rotate out of their useful life.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Legislators
Okay, I
Scanlon?
always get to play devil's advocate on this. Are we going to have all these EV equipment stored separately from everything else because of the history of a lot of these lithium batteries creating fire hazards and not being able to be put out? I don't want to see us lose our whole fleet because something went wrong.
Well, with the EV cars, the plan is actually to utilize some of the existing charging stations. So there are several here at the government center. And there's several over at Thomas Bowl Memorial Park. So the automobiles, would be stored out of doors and charged. The equipment, will have to be worked out with parks and DPW as to, where the equipment's actually stored. But the excavators, I'm suspecting would be stored similar to, gas or diesel powered excavators.
Yeah, I was looking more for the actual landscaping and the smaller equipment, not some of the cars. So,
Yeah, I don't know the details of that, but I'll look into that.
thank you.
Anybody
You're
else? Thoughts or questions? Legislator Fetching.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just want to say that I'll be abstaining on the vote on this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, I'd like to call into question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And one abstention.
Thank you.
Okay, on to 2B. We have 2BI, a request to rescind resolution number 277 of 2024 dated 12/5/2024. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Legislators Segenga and Feller. Okay, you want to just give us a little update on that?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. When the legislature passed the resolution in December, I had included in the resolution that the conservation easement would be held by both New York State and the Orange County Land Trust. I subsequently learned that that was not the case. The state of New York in past programs would hold co-title to the conservation easement. They no longer wish to do so. So that resolution, because of that error, needed to be rescinded.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, all in favor to rescind the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Okay, so then B2 is the request that the legislature hold a public hearing under NYSGML 247 regarding the acquisition of a conservation easement over the Morcheski Farm in the town of Warwick. The Orange County Land Trust will acquire, hold, and monitor the conservation easement. Public hearing is set for 2/21/25 at 3:30 p.m. Motion and second, please.
Second.
Legislators Fagione and Segenga. Okay.
Okay, so in order to put in that conservation easement, a public hearing is required. So we're asking the legislature to set that public hearing. This is part of the county's open space fund. And I'm not sure at what point, county executive, I know you wanted to speak to that, whether now would be a good time.
I can
or-
still comment on it to be done with it, but look, we worked on this together, the legislature and I, to put money aside. Anywhere in the county can apply for it. We've had a very minuscule amount of applications in the past. This final one, we just had 7, right?
Yes.
and we still have money left over. So this is being looked at across the county, but the messages to the towns and the villages and even the cities. So even like, let's say the city of Middletown might not have land that they own within their town. They can do a joint application with a neighboring town to preserve property. So we're looking at a lot of creative things. I just met with Jim DeLon from the Land Trust earlier today. And there's a lot of parcels in the county, all your districts. But we only got 7 applications. So if you look at the amount of towns, villages, and cities, we only got 7, and Alan can go through them. And again, there's still money on the table, but there's a major push for open space preservation. And there's a lot of different uses for some of these properties if we're able to protect them for your community. So this is just one of the things that is occupying a lot of our bandwidth, and we want to continue to support this. And it was passed unanimously by the legislature. So we just want to continue to not only, and the application for Warwick hasn't come from the town of Warwick. This came from the Orange County Land Trust. So some of these aren't even coming from the government entity. They're getting the blessing from that entity, but the drive is being pushed by either another organization like the Land Trust or people that have an interest in seeing that preserved for maybe a parks or public enjoyment. So I just want to make sure we're all moving forward on this because this is kind of a new frontier for us. We just started to spend this money and now we're seeing some activity. Again, 7 applications now, 2 about 6 months ago.
Great. Anybody have any questions or comments? Nope, I think it sounds great. I'd like to call into question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And then we go on to 2B3, request to authorize the acquisition of an undivided interest in a conservation easement concerning the Morcheski Farm, stating the maximum cost thereof is $272,569, not to exceed 25% of the project cost, and appropriating said amount through the 2024 Orange County Open Space Fund to pay the cost thereof. Legislative request number 026. Motion and a second, please. Legislators Sedanga and Fagion. Okay.
This I would just, I would characterize it as a formality to authorize the actual funding of that acquisition. The Morcheski Farm, just to provide a little bit of overview, it's 166 acres. So we'd be purchasing the development rights on that farm. It's in the town of Warwick. Farm has been in the family for many, many years. And it was a really solid application that all of our grant criteria, and the state of New York through the Farmland Protection Implementation Grants, putting in the 75% match to it. So it's really good leverage for the county through this program. The balance remaining will be available for other open space applications. And as the county exec mentioned, we received 7 applications in the winter round. We received an application from the town of Chester, Village of Goshen, town of Wallkill, Orange County Land Trust, Village of Warwick, town of Wayanda, and the Village of Woodbury. Of those, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to fund 3 of those. And even some of those that might not make the final cut, depending on the committee's review, they'll have an opportunity to reapply in the spring round of 2025. And as you recall, the legislature has authorized $4 million for the year 2025 for the Open Space Fund.
Questions or comments? Okay, I'd like to call into question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Okay, next up, we have Paul Wiley, Director of Real Property Tax Services. Here, and we have the County Executive with us again. Number 3A, request for a local law to extend and expand the county property tax exemption granted in local law number 3 of 2023 to qualify volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers to include those that volunteer in a district adjoining their home municipalities as allowed by New York Real Property Tax Law, Section 466-1, extension of benefits, and effective as of September 27th, 2024. Legislative request number 315. I have a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Legislators Paduk and Sekinga. Okay, all right.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for your
Madam.
time today. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon all.
Sorry.
No problem. So this is to expand the firefighters exemption that we put through the year before last. When the state put that through, as I said at the time, I believe there was a bit of an oversight that they were limiting it too much to only firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers that lived within a district in which they served. And there are, it turns out, a number of people who volunteer at the district adjoining to where they live. And so this now, the state has amended their law, which allows us the opportunity to amend our law. So that is what we're doing here. We're asking to extend for the active members that they can be volunteering in a district adjoining to where they live. And that's basically it.
And I usually don't come and bother you guys at your committee meetings, but you had a lot of big things on the agenda today. Sales tax keeps us afloat. The open space is a big issue to all of us. But this is EMS is, fires is literally in crisis in the state. And paying for volunteers and getting them to volunteer has been very tough. You see it across the river with Dutchess County's having a crisis. The sheriff's in the room, him and I are talking about creative ways to help with EMS. But I personally think that the next governor, if it's not going to be this year, it's going to be next year, is going to have to propose a 25% at least across the board, including mandatory sales tax, school property tax break. So let's say you're spending $10,000 on property tax, you would get a $2,500 exemption as opposed to a couple $100 you see here. But we have a new EMS commissioner coming on that's going to talk about us as we talk about the county is broken up into districts and non-districts. It's kind of a wild west, but these are the type of things that help fire and some of our volunteers retain people. It's not a lot, but it's something, and it's a start. So that's exactly why I think we're all in favor of it.
And when you look at the fires that we had just a couple of months ago and the work that went into that
Yeah.
and the sacrifice and the dedication, it's a no-brainer. Would we all like to sponsor this?
Yes.
Okay, do we all sponsor? Okay, any other questions or comments? Legislator Hutchins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. This says here, the adjoining their home municipalities. Is there a legalese to that? Does that mean it has to be conjoined? Does it have to be next to their municipality? Like, say a guy works in Cornwall, he volunteers in Walk Hill. I mean, is there any stipulation on what that means, adjoining their home municipality?
The state uses the word abutting, adjoining, and neighboring. And all of those are interpretations that they must actually be like adjoining and have connected to each other. So Cornwall to Walk Hill would not work, but Cornwall to New Windsor might.
Legislator Spadafore.
So follow up on that, a lot of the people who work in a municipality but don't live there could run into an issue with this.
Correct.
And it's following that whole thing, because if I was living, I'm in Blooming Grove, but if I worked in Walk Hill, and that's where I would have the easiest to be there during those times, so we have to look for expanding that next year.
And we're doing it within what the state's allowing.
Yeah, this
Fantastic.
is, we don't have the ability to just make it larger.
Right.
Whenever you're dealing with taxation and exemptions, you have to rely upon the power that's given counties by the state. So they have expanded it somewhat, and we want to take advantage of that expansion to the greatest extent that we can.
And they might not know, so this next point you put up, you go to these meetings, that's your time to advocate, say, let's send a letter that's unified to the state legislature saying, please adjust this to now include and make it to the other folks that are helping out.
It will definitely make my meeting in February.
Yeah.
As far as that, because I know we have been looking at expanding on some of this in two of my committees, up at NISAC. So it just, if we're getting this little leeway, let's ask for a little bit more and explain why, and use examples like that it's not just where it's, you have to be touching a community because they may be over on the other side of that community because that's where they're at and where they're accessible to help that community. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments? No, okay, so again, we'll all sponsor that. I have to call to question, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, now we're on 3B. I think this is also kind of a no-brainer as well. Request to increase the limits of the veterans' property tax exemptions under real property tax law 458-B, which has not been increased by Orange County since 2001. The proposed increase would offer some well-deserved relief to our veterans at minimal cost to the average property owner. Legislative request number 020. Is this something everybody would like to sponsor as well?
Yes.
I
Yes,
should-
please.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So Chairman, Paul Wiley brought this up to my attention a few months ago, saying, look, I've looked at the veterans discount, the tax break, and he's like, we haven't adjusted this since 2001. I think we can do it. I asked him what the parameters are, and I said, I want to push for the biggest discount that we can get, the biggest break. Chairwoman Janet and also the Chairman Glenn Ellis, who's going to see this next week, is going to go before both committees, said, look, I'd like to go to the max. And if you're looking at the numbers, it's an average of $173 or something like that, $170. It would go increase to. You look at some of the numbers, they're just around 100, a little bit over, a little under now. So is it a lot of money? No. Is it something? Yes. And I think it's a good thing. I think we can all get behind. And Paul, I'll let you
Sure.
go through into the details on it.
Sure, and I'd like to point out that Kathy Witzak, who's our real property information specialist, and Tricia Masterson, who's the assistant director of real property, they're the ones who worked so hard to put this presentation together, and unfortunately, both of them are out sick right now. So it falls to me to try to explain all the
It is a
different
great
complicated charts.
presentation.
So there's a lot of different moving parts to something like this, and they tried to do a good job of explaining how we're doing the calculations and all. The important things are that each year we have fewer and fewer veterans that are around and eligible to receive these exemptions. So it's actually costing us less each year when we haven't even changed it since 2001. And that, when that was brought up to the county executive, he asked why haven't we done it? So it's a bit of work, but also we have the opportunity now to do it. So we had come up with a couple of numbers saying, well, why don't we at least go to one of the similar to the adjoining counties? And that's why we had proposed a couple of different ones. And the numbers that we had there in the charts. And then it was just, why aren't we going to the maximum? And so we said, okay, we will rework the numbers to show you the maximum. What it comes down to is that what it would cost, the two different numbers that we proposed, going to 54,000 and change and 45,000 and change for the starting ones, it would cost the average homeowner in Orange County $4 and change to $5 and change. Going to the maximum costs the average home $15, and that's it. So what it gives to the veterans goes from somewhere under $100 that they're getting right now in the exemption to about $270. They'd get a $170 increase average. What we did was try to pull a couple of different properties that look to be average for the towns that are getting the exemptions in the county. And that's what the numbers are on that last sheet that I just handed out. Also, I should point out that although we haven't done this change since 2001, some of the other towns have, actually. They have not waited for us. Generally, they wait to see what the county is going to do. So by us going to the maximum, it gives the towns now the incentive that they can go higher than they are right now. So we're lagging behind, and that's it's understandable to some degree because nobody wants to pay more taxes. So when we give an exemption out, we're shifting that burden onto everyone. But this is a small amount, and it's just a little bit. It's the least that we can do to support the people who have sacrificed so much for it.
Legislator Feller?
I'm a combat I have a combat exemption. My exemption went down this year because it's related to the equalization rate of the assessed value. So if your assessed value stays the same and your equalization rate goes down, they'll make your market value go higher, but your exemption will go less.
Correct.
So that's the town's explanation. And that equalization rate went from 40, my particular town went from 42% to 40%. So my exemption went down.
Correct.
Is there a different exemption, or do I see that any other place as getting an exemption from the county, or does the whole thing go through do I have to apply for it with the county, which I didn't?
No, it's
go through
the
the
same
town?
application that you do for the town.
Okay,
And then the county it's applied when that happens. But you were absolutely right. The formula that they use to calculate this is a little bit complicated. It does involve the equalization rate. So if your equalization rate went from 42 down to 40, that means that your exemption dropped 5%.
there's something, yeah, it did
Yeah.
not.
And
So it
that's
sounds like a double hit. I mean, the taxes went up and your equalization went down.
not all the exemptions are done this way, but this one is. And so that's why in that sheet that, this one here, that I last gave you, you see that red arrow going down. What that's doing is showing the equalization rate is dropping. And what that winds up doing is lowering the amount that you can get in your exemption. That's why by going to the maximum that we can, we're doing the most that we can to allow you the best possible exemption.
So when the county does it, that'll automatically trickle down to the towns and they'll have to buy into this? Or?
No, the towns will have to do their own also, but, so when we go to the maximum, the message that we're going to be sending is, come on, towns, please.
And you'll see some of them are different. Some communities don't even have the exemption.
So when you say we again, you don't have to apply to the county to get this. We'll do it.
No, you don't. When you apply to the assessor to get the
You
exemption,
apply to the town, and the town tells you that these guys got exemption.
yes,
So I would not, I got the same 1.5% reduction on my tax bill from the county. It's not 1.5 plus or minus the exemption rate you get as a veteran. What does it show up anywhere that you get? I didn't know that. I never knew that I got an exemption or a reduced county tax bill because I was a veteran. And if, in fact, that is the case.
yes, it should be showing up on your
Yeah.
tax bills. One of the lines of the tax bill is a bunch of.
And in the presentation, it gives you a breakdown of the county, some of them that are Cold War combat veteran. There's different stats, so the more you,
But I thought, I was under the impression
that goes
was
to the
for
county.
town, but that's, okay.
No,
Right.
so you go to your town office of real property or your city or village and you file for it. The other thing is, yeah, I mean, that's the extent of it right now that we're dealing with it. That's why we wanted to raise it because this is a tough year for towns and last year, a lot of them went up significantly in taxes.
And your exemption went down.
Correct, because of the equalization rate. You're absolutely right. If you look at page 7 on the PowerPoint presentation, it actually has what the limits are. For the
Yeah,
town.
that-
Oh, there you are, right.
Right on.
Right, and you can see that we are as low or almost as low as we could have been because at the time, it was a reasonable number that we had put in. But now other numbers have been added and I agree that we should be going for the most that we can.
Any other questions or comments? Just wanted to say, I think it's pretty sad when you look at page 8 and you see that every year we're losing about 200 veterans.
Correct, the next number that we have
Of course,
as of
makes
right
sense
now,
about our veteran cemetery.
correct. And the next number that we have right now was 10,300 and change. The number, and of course, by the time next year comes around, when the numbers will apply, that number will likely be lower again. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'd like to call into question then, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Paul, and I
Thank you.
appreciate your time. Thank you, thank you for being here. Okay. Next up, we have Kelly Eskew, our county clerk. Anybody else with me? Yep, we got Jim here, deputy county clerk. And we have Ed English, our deputy county clerk, department of motor vehicles. We have the whole team. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. For A, we have a request to create a fiscal technician. When the position is filled promotionally, the position promoted from will be unfunded. Funds to come from the operating budget. Legislative request number 021. May I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Legislators Segenga and Fagion. Okay,
So good afternoon, Madam
Good afternoon.
Chairwoman. I don't think it's too late to say Happy New Year. So
Yeah.
Happy New Year to everybody. So since 2022, I've been working to improve and streamline the clerk's office. So the business and the services we provide. So we receive and disperse approximately $56 million annually. The position currently is a grade 8 principal account clerk, and she maintains and reconciles 9 bank accounts. She prepares deposits, daily revenue reports, along with 13 monthly reports, quarterly reports, semi-annual mortgage tax reports. And now we have a lot of added services and responsibilities that we previously didn't have. NICIF, which is electronic court filing, credit cards. We have 2 additional DMVs. Wire transfers, we used to write checks. Now we're doing wire transfers, which are a lot more convenient and better, but it's still a lot of work. So we have internal and external audits. There's a new contract procedure and of course the budget. So this position has always worked above its specifications. And it fits the descriptions and duties of a fiscal tech, and so that's what I am respectfully requesting.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Legislators,
I'm just looking at, normally they give us what the grade is and.
It's
It's not
currently,
listed.
I have a principal account clerk, and that's a grade 8,
Okay.
and the fiscal tech is a grade 14.
Okay.
anybody else, questions or comments? No? Okay, I'd like to call into question. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, and 4B, we have a request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget to purchase a planetary scanner. This is proposed capital project number 21 of the 2025 capital plan, $50,000 funding. Legislators request 027. Dana and Fagion, thank you so much.
So this purchase you previously approved, so now I'm ready to purchase it, so that's why I'm back with the equipment that we want to get. We spent close to $300,000 of capital project money over the last 2 years with outside companies digitizing our records. So this would allow us to do it in-house and save a lot of money and make more records available to the public. We also make money from our online records management system where people can go in and buy a subscription and view records and print documents. So in 2024, the online records management system generated $438,000. So this would help with that. It's going to give more records available, and it's going to help us with our old and fragile documents to scan them here. They don't have to be sent out, but they'll also be available for the public to view. And that right now, it's a very difficult process to view them. You have to wear gloves, you have to request them because they're very fragile. So this, we would get them scanned and then we could store them safely, but then they'll be available to the public.
Questions or comments? What you said you could do?
Exactly, so you don't have anybody special, anybody can do this.
We have it in the clerk's office. We have a ReproTech, which does the scanning for all the documents, and we have other.
He's gonna take care of this.
Yeah, we have others.
You're smiling when you say it.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, I'd like to call into question then. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy New Year. I'm gonna bring Ed every time.
Right downstairs, DMV, come see me.
You're not leaving, are you?
Okay, finally, number 5, we have Kevin Hines, Chairman of the Legislature. Come on up.
I can't believe Kelly just left the room, but okay.
She's like, I don't want to hear it.
She's in the hallway.
Okay, so we have letter A, a local law, amending local law number 8 of 2020, fixing the compensation for the county clerk of Orange County to be effective for the term commencing on January 1st, 2026, pursuant to section 2.02G of the Orange County Charter.
Someone.
Legislators Segenga and Fagion. Okay, Chairman.
Okay, so I think you're all aware that this was withdrawn from the December 5th, 2024 legislative session, as some thought the proposed numbers weren't proper for the position. The proposed numbers in that resolution were to start the salary in 2026 at $129,886. I have proposed to change it to start in 2026 at $132,000 and go up 4% a year, as we did with most of the salaries for elected officials. I know there's some appetite at this table to increase that, which I'm all for if someone wants to do that. But what you have before you currently is 132. Again, I'm in favor of increasing that if anybody here would choose to do that.
Oh, anybody here would like to do that? Yes. Legislator Fagion.
Madam Chair, thank you. I'd like to make a motion. First of all, Chairman, thank you so much for that information. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we amend this resolution, this local law, pardon me, As Chairman Hines had mentioned, the starting salary number on this figure is at $132,000. Just for a little salary background, currently in Dutchess County, the starting salary at 2020, for the year 2025 for the clerk of Dutchess County is $150,000. They currently have 4 DMV offices and a budget of $5.9 million, 297,000 residents. Rockland County salary, $170,000. They have an operating budget of $3 million, 340,000 residents. They have 36 employees. Putnam County, Ulster County, much the same. Here in Orange County, right now, in Orange County, we have 83 employees in the clerk's office. We have 5 DMVs with an operating budget of $9.8 million and a population of 407,470 people. That being said, that I think it would be smart of us to maybe reconsider. And at 132, I would make this motion to amend to start the salary for 2026 at $135,000. If we do that, and we follow, as Chairman Hines had mentioned, the percentage increases, the number figures would change as followed. And if my numbers are incorrect, please someone correct me. For 2026, $135,000, 2027, $140,400, 2028, $146,016, and for 2029, $151,857. And just for reference, as you see that, the 2029 salary of $151,000 is just slightly above the salary currently in Dutchess County for the clerk. So I think this modification, even as humble as it is a step forward in the right direction. And I would ask that the committee to consider this motion to amend.
I would second that.
Discussion.
Sure.
2025 salary, do you have that?
The 2025 salary for our clerk's position
Yeah.
is $129,886. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
No,
that's,
my bad.
that was
I'm
the
sorry, I'm
original
wrong.
proposed for 2026.
124,890. For 2025, 124,890.
So basically $10,000 raise on 124.
And using some formulas that we had brought forward for other elected positions, this number adjustment still pales in comparison to other adjustments that were made. And I think it is more than fair and accurate that these numbers should be amended.
Okay, is there any more discussion on the amendment? No, okay, so we'll take a vote on the amendment. Amending the salary for the 2026 from 132,000 to 135,000, going up to 140,400, going up to 146,16, going up to 151,857. And I had a motion by Legislator Fagione, seconded by Legislator Segenga. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Okay, so then, do I have to do anything with,
That was
Yeah.
for the amendments and now.
so let me go back, okay. So now back to the original local law, the amount of 132,000.
You're gonna vote on it.
You're voting on the amendment.
Vote on it as
now.
amended, that's all.
Vote on it as amended, okay, all right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 5B, a resolution amending resolution number 61 of 2019, which created the Orange County Sewer District Number 1 Advisory Committee, a special committee of the Orange County Legislature pursuant to Section 2.02Q of the Orange County Charter and Article 4, Paragraph G of the Legislative Manual. I have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Legislators Fagione and Stiganga.
Okay, thank you. I was looking at the original sewer resolution. This was created in 2019, and the task of this committee was to write a report to the Physical Services Committee in October of 2019, which they did. And I just wanted to clean it up and make it more current, because currently the sewer committee is extensively involved in the Harriman wastewater treatment plant upgrades, improvements, financing. It's a huge undertaking, and I just wanted to make sure that not only was the committee created, but the tasks are focused properly in the resolution. There'll also be resolutions going to physical services, naming the members of the committee and things like that. But for the Rules Committee, this is just to create the language of the committee.
Okay. Any discussion, thoughts, questions? Nope. Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. On to 5C, a local law fixing the compensation for the chair of the Orange County Sewer District Number 1 Advisory Committee, a special committee of the Orange County Legislature, to be effective immediately and continue through the term commencing on January 1st, 2026, pursuant to Section 2.02S of the Orange County Charter. I have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Legislators Fagione and Stiganga.
So along with what I just said, the sewer committee met yesterday and has set an aggressive schedule. They have to have most of their work done to apply for grants, and we probably even have to have special legislative sessions or committee meetings with physical services to stay in tune with some of those grants. It has to be done by May 30th, if I'm not mistaken. Some of the grant money that's out there, and they're going to continue searching for other grants as well. But I appointed Peter to stay on as chairman of this committee. But this committee is going to be working harder than probably our actual statutory committees because it's just such a big project with the consultants, Commissioner Denega, the county attorney's office, Delaware Engineering, the financing piece with Commissioner Gallagher, as well as the supervisors, mayors, and administrators in that territory. So this is going to be an extremely active committee, and this salary for the chairman of that committee is commensurate with the actual salary that statutory committee chairs get now. The only difference you'll see is because we have to do it in 2025, we're raising the salary of a current elected official. It's subject to a permissive referendum, which is Section 3 on the line, to cover the 2025 salary, which just means it won't take effect till March, but it will be retroactive as written.
Okay, questions or comments? Legislator Feller?
Do you foresee the committee being around 5 years from now, or is that going to be disbanded once everything gets approved?
If it gets built in the next 5 years, but even when they build it, there are going to be plans for expansion. So I do expect that committee to be in operation through 2029, and I also expect that I will not be here to see that.
Well, if the committee is for some reason disbanded.
Then it would just go away. That's up to whoever is on the legislature at that time. Every year, special committees are set by the chair, subject to the vote of the legislature.
Okay,
So that is up to whoever's in office at that time.
thank you.
But I just wanted to set this in line with statutory chairs just because of the work involved. And I do believe that committee will exist in 2029. Want to make a side bet? I'll make it.
The other question is from 2025 to 2026, so that's incorporating the projected increase in legislators, because from 2025 to 2026, it's like a 10%, 15% raise, and then it goes to the 4%.
This is the exact salaries the current statutory chairs are proposed to make from 26 to 29. And that 38,429 number is the exact salary that statutory chairs get paid now. So it's not a novel idea. I just attached it to what the legislature approved last month for statutory chairs going
Oh,
forward.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
It might have been
Anybody
2
else?
months ago.
Okay, all to question, all in favor? Ayes. Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, we have 5D, resolution of the Orange County Legislature creating the Housing Task Force Committee pursuant to Section 2.02Q of the Orange County Charter and Article 4, Paragraph G of the Legislative Manual.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Legislators Ramos and Paduk. I know this passed unanimously yesterday. Go ahead.
Yes, it passed Human Services yesterday unanimously with one amendment. They decided to add legislator Lee Benton, so I'd ask this committee to do that as well. This is not my idea. This came from legislators Sassy, Ramos, Sutherland, and Lujan to look at the housing crisis in Orange County with respect to not only economic development, where we're creating jobs and we want people to be able to live here as we create those jobs. And then the other phase of it would be for people who live here now that are suffering from housing instability, things of that nature. I know we spoke to the deputy county executive about this, and he let us know they do a lot of good work on this now as a county, or we do, I should say. but they have a robust list of experts that they want to come before them. And I was very impressed with it. They, from people who build homes, people who provide social services, people in economic development, things of that nature. It was an extensive list of people. So I think we can all learn a lot from it. And this committee will report to Human Services. So the first thing I'd like you to do is please, somebody make a motion to add Lee Benton so that it's in line with what Human Services did, and then please pass it.
Second. Legislators Katuk and Ramos. Okay,
Was that motion to add Lee or just?
yeah, the motion to add Lee Benton to the Housing Task Force Committee. All in favor of that motion? Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. And then we're going to just vote on okay, so and then, so we'll vote on as amended. All in favor? Anyone opposed? So moved, okay. Thank you so much. Have 5E, a resolution of the Orange County Legislature rescinding resolution numbers 321 of 2020, 73 of 2021, 98 of 2023, and 5 of 2024, abolishing the Dutchess Quarry Sites National Register District Management Committee pursuant to sections 2.02A and 2.02H of the Orange County Charter, Article 4, Paragraph G of the Legislative Manual, and Section 153 of the New York State County Law. A motion and a second, please.
Nick.
Legislators Segenga and Fellers. Okay, good.
Okay, so special committees are set up by the chair, as you know, and when I looked at this, I thought we didn't need it anymore. I spoke to Legislator Benton, who was in charge of that committee in the past. He agreed. We spoke to the county attorney yesterday. He agreed there's no more need for this committee as well. We're not selling material anymore. We're basically out of the quarry business, although we still own a piece of it. But there's no reason for a special committee to exist to oversee this because we're not selling any more material at that site.
Questions or comments? No? Question, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So carried. And finally, 5F, a resolution of the Orange County Legislature rescinding resolution numbers 88 of 1971, 13 of 2002, 33 of 2008, and 87 of 2014. Abolishing the Orange County Economic Development Gaming Committee pursuant to sections 2.02A and 2.02H of the Orange County Charter, Article 4, Paragraph B of the Legislative Manual, and Section 253 of the New York State County Law. A motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Okay. Legislators Fagione and Feller. Okay.
So I'm disappointed to come before you and say that we need to disband this committee because I think all of you know off-track betting, Catskill off-track betting is really no longer in existence. I've sat on that committee since I've been in the legislature, and at one time they had $12 million in their capital account. It then reduced to $9 million, and we asked them, maybe you should just go out of business and split the money with the counties because you're moving in a terrible direction. And from what I'm told, there might be no money left. Certainly the county's not going to be seeing any. So I don't think we need the gaming committee anymore. And if you read this, it's proposed, we also had a component about the casino gaming. We get a piece of the Monticello casino as well as the one in Newburgh now. And I would propose that just, certainly Commissioner Gallagher can report that to anybody who asks her, or the Ways and Means Committee could track that revenue if they wanted to. We used to meet with the chair of Catskill OTB, and that's just not going to exist anymore. So again, no reason to have the committee, unfortunately, because it had potential and I think it was just mismanaged. That's my opinion.
Okay. Questions or discussion?
I just have one question about this because, as you know, I was the chair at one point, and we couldn't have any meetings. There was nothing. We couldn't get Larry to show up or even answer any questions. But we did, one of the last actions that we took was that we appointed someone to the Catskill Commission. Is that something that we have to rescind? It doesn't exist anymore because they basically got rid of the Catskill.
Last I heard, they didn't have a meeting to even appoint the person, but maybe the county attorney knows better.
I haven't heard.
Yeah, I don't think they need.
Legislator Benelli?
The individual that we appointed here was never appointed on the state level on that commission. He was never appointed. He was vetted, there was an issue, and he never got appointed.
Right, I don't think they held any meetings after we did the appointment, so. Okay, I just wanted to
But he
clarify
wasn't
that.
appointed whether they had meetings or not. That's, I'm
Okay,
not necessarily privy to that, but I do know that he was never.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Clarification. Anybody else? Okay, call into question, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So moved. And
Thank you.
finally, thank you, Chairman. Finally, number 6, we have a resolution recognizing February as Black History Awareness Month. Is this something we would all like to sponsor?
Yes.
Excellent. Questions or comments on that? No? Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? So carried. Okay, that is the end. Here's our agenda. Can I have a motion? Can we have a second to, I'm sorry? Okay, end the meeting.
Yes.
The Peters, Sinigenga, and Ramos. Okay, thank you, everybody.
That's